The sun beat down heavily on the bustling streets of Lagos, where two teenage boys wove their way between cars, balancing trays of sachet water on their heads. Pure water! Buy your cold, pure water, they shouted, their voices hoarse from hours under the scorching heat. Ameka and Tony had been friends since they were toddlers. They grew up in the same face me, I face you compound in Mushin, shared the same wooden bench in class, and endured the same daily struggle for survival. Life had never been kind to them. Emeka lost his parents in a car crash at the age of 6. His father's brother took him in, but treated him more like a servant than family. Tony lived with his mother, Mama Sade, a cleaner at a small private school. She worked tirelessly, but her earnings were barely enough to feed them. Every morning before school, they hawked pure water and ground nuts. After classes, they washed cars, ran errands, carried heavy loads for market women, and polished shoes by the roadside. They were boys forced to become men too early. But they both held on to hope. Emeka wanted to be an engineer. Tony dreamed of becoming a successful businessman. At night, they sat under the dim streetlight near their compound, struggling to read their tattered schoolbooks while mosquitoes feasted on their skin. Still, they pressed on. One evening, Emeka returned home to find his mother coughing uncontrollably, her frail body shaking with every breath. "Mama, what is it?" He knelt beside her, panic in his eyes. "I'm fine, my son," she whispered, but her voice was barely there. She wasn't fine. Over the next few days, her condition worsened. Emeka ran around fetching hot water from neighbors, begging for herbs, praying for miracles. But nothing worked. One night, her breathing became dangerously shallow. "Mama, let's go to the hospital, please," Emeka cried. She nodded weakly, and he rushed her to a nearby private hospital. After examining her, the doctor wrote a long prescription and said, "She needs urgent treatment." Emeka's eyes lit up with hope. "Thank you, sir. Please start now." "Are you paying cash?" the doctor asked. Emeka swallowed hard. "I don't have the money now, but I swear I will pay. Please save her." "No money, no treatment," the doctor said coldly and walked away. That night, Emeka held his mother's hand as her breathing slowed until it stopped. He let out a scream that pierced the quiet night. Tony found him the next morning, curled beside her cold body, his eyes swollen and voice gone. Emeka looked at him and said through clenched teeth, "They let her die because of money. I swear I will never be poor again. Never." From that day on, something shifted in Emeka. He became more determined, more desperate. They continued hustling, combining menial jobs with their studies. Eventually, they gained admission into the University of Lagos. But the university came with new struggles. School fees, textbooks, accommodation, and daily meals were a constant worry. One afternoon, Emeka fainted while helping to carry a heavy bag at the market. Tony rushed him to a nearby clinic. "He's suffering from malnutrition and stress," the nurse said. "He needs food and rest." As they left, they overheard two young men talking outside. "Guy, I don't donate blood 3 times this month," one said. "Dem dey pay well for this hospital, oh." Emeka's ears twitched. Tony noticed. "No, don't even think about it," Tony warned. "We need the money," Emeka replied firmly. The next day, they both signed up to donate blood at a private clinic. It was painful, but they received cash, enough for food and transportation. They kept going. Every 2 weeks, they returned. The process was draining, but the money was real. "Are you sure this is safe?" Tony asked one evening, rubbing his sore arm. "What choice do we have?" Emeka replied, "I don't have anyone to send me money." After some time, Tony pulled back. The fatigue was affecting his studies. But Emeka pushed on. One day, while they were sitting in the hospital waiting room, they overheard another conversation. "Forget blood donation," one man said, laughing. "Sperm donation na the real deal. Na big money day there. If your stuff passed their test, you go cash out." Emeka's ears twitched again. He leaned closer. "Sperm bank?" he whispered. "Yes," the man continued. "Plenty rich couples we know fit get children they buy sperm. The hospital they pay donors well if you meet their standard." That night, Emeka couldn't sleep. "Tony, should we try it?" he asked quietly. Tony sat up sharply. "No way. Selling blood is one thing, but donating sperm? That's another level. We need the money." Emeka insisted. This one even easier. No weakness, no fainting, and the pay is better. I can't do it, Tony said. We must draw the line somewhere. I'll look for other ways to survive. But Emeka's mind was made up. The next morning, while Tony searched for part-time jobs online, Emeka walked into his Grace Memorial Hospital and began a new chapter of his life. One that would change everything forever. Emeka was surprised by how easy the sperm donor registration process was. After a few tests, blood work, family health history, and a brief physical examination, he was accepted. The hospital staff even complimented his strong genes. The money came almost instantly. Each donation earned him more than he had ever made in a week of hustling. At first, he told no one, not even Tony. But soon it became obvious. His once worn-out clothes were replaced with designer t-shirts and clean sneakers. He bought a new phone. His meals improved. No more gari and ground nut, but jollof rice with chicken and chilled malt. One evening, while they sat in their usual spot near the campus hostel, Tony couldn't hold it in anymore. Emeka, talk true. Where are you getting all this money from? He asked, eyeing the wristwatch Emeka had just bought. I found something that pays, Emeka said vaguely. Tony narrowed his eyes. You're still donating at that hospital, right? You started donating sperm, didn't you? Emeka chuckled. What's wrong with that? The hospital makes millions off it, and I'm just taking my share. But you don't know where that sperm goes, Tony snapped. What if you have children all over the place? So? Emeka shrugged. They're not my problem. I need the money, and this is my way of making it. Tony sighed, deeply troubled. I can't support this, Emeka. You're playing with destiny. But Emeka was deaf to caution. He continued donating, using the money to transform his life. Soon, he started a small phone accessories business on campus, using his profits to invest in online trading. The money multiplied. He began making new friends, friends who wore perfume worth a student's monthly allowance. He rarely called Tony anymore. Their lives had taken different turns. Years passed. After graduation, Tony got a job with a construction firm in Ikeja. It paid modestly, but he was content. He married a humble woman named Amaka, a school teacher with a kind heart. They had 3 beautiful children and lived in a small but decent flat in Ajage. Emeka, on the other hand, had become a full-blown businessman. He drove a luxury SUV, owned several shops, and attended exclusive events. His social circle was made up of politicians' children and wealthy influencers. At one of such events, he met Isabella, the only daughter of Chief Adeyemo, a powerful industrialist. Isabella was refined, well-spoken, and fiercely intelligent. Emeka was captivated, and surprisingly, so was she. In less than a year, they got married in a lavish wedding ceremony that graced the cover of City People magazine. As a wedding gift, Chief Adeyemo appointed Emeka as the managing director of one of his companies. From hawking pure water to signing million-naira deals, Emeka had arrived. Their home was a 5-bedroom mansion in Lekki. They had 2 beautiful children and lived what seemed to be the perfect life. But Emeka never told Isabella about his past as a sperm donor, until one evening changed everything. Isabella was relaxing in the living room, scrolling through her tablet, when a news headline caught her eye. Leaked sperm donor database from his Grace Memorial Hospital goes viral. Out of curiosity, she opened the article. The list had been made public due to a data breach. It included donor codes, physical features, and blood types. Her heart skipped a beat as she scrolled. Then she froze. Donor number, 5294. Tall, fair-skinned, deep dimple on the right cheek, blood type B+. Preferred academic field, engineering. Donated between 2016 and 2019. Her hands trembled. It was Emeka. Every detail matched her husband. That night, when Emeka returned from work, he found Isabella seated in the living room with the lights dimmed and a cold look in her eyes. Emeka, she said calmly, did you ever donate sperm at his Grace Memorial Hospital? He paused. Why do you ask? Just answer the question. He sighed and looked away. Yes, but it was before I met you. I needed the money then. Isabella's eyes filled with tears. Do you have any idea how many children you might have out there? It doesn't matter. It was in the past. It does matter, she snapped. What if our children grow up and unknowingly marry their half-siblings? Do you realize the kind of damage you've created? Emeka was silent. He had never thought of that. I can't stay here, Emeka. Not now, Isabella said as she stood, grabbing her handbag. Where are you going? I need time to think. You lied to me. You hid something this big from me. She packed her bags and left that night. For 5 weeks, Emeka begged, sent flowers, knelt before her parents, and promised to change. Isabella finally returned home, but their marriage had lost its peace. Then came another storm. Tony's youngest child fell gravely ill and was rushed to the hospital. The doctor said surgery was urgent. Tony and Amaka sold everything they could and managed to raise 70% of the required amount. But the hospital refused to proceed without 90% deposit. Desperate, Tony swallowed his pride and called Amika, the friend who now lived like a king. Emeka, please, Tony pleaded, tears in his voice. My son needs surgery. I've raised most of the money. Please, help me complete it. I'll pay you back with interest. Emeka sipped his wine slowly, staring out the window. Go and donate sperm, he said coldly. That's how I made it. What? Tony gasped. You said you had principles, but now your child is dying. So be a man. Do what I did. I can't, Tony said quietly. I'm a married man. I have values, and even if I have to do it, it is a long process and I don't have much time. Please, Emeka, help me. I promise to pay you back. Then carry your cross, Emeka replied and hung up. Tony wept that night. He tried taking a quick loan. Approval was delayed. The surgery came too late. His son died. They buried the boy under a cloudy sky. It rained throughout the funeral. Even heaven seemed to mourn with them. The grief that fell upon Tony's household was heavy and unrelenting. Amaka barely spoke for days. Their other children asked questions they couldn't answer. Tony sat on the floor in his living room the night after the funeral, his eyes fixed on a candle that flickered near the window. His shoulders were slumped. His heart was broken. All he could think about was Emeka's voice echoing in his mind. Go and donate sperm. The words cut deeper than a blade. But just when life seemed hopeless, things began to turn. 2 months after the burial, Tony received a call from a large construction company. His firm had been selected for a major bridge project in Lagos. The contract was worth millions. He stared at the email twice before screaming. The breakthrough he had prayed for had finally arrived. In the months that followed, Tony's life transformed. He opened his own engineering firm, moved his family into a beautiful bungalow, and enrolled his children in one of the best schools in Ikeja. But unlike Emeka, he remained grounded. He visited his late son's grave often, silently thanking God for lifting him from poverty without compromise. Emeka, on the other hand, was changing, and not for the better. With wealth came pride, and with pride came arrogance. He walked like he owned the world. His voice carried like thunder in business meetings. He changed his wardrobe, his circle, even his speech. Isabella noticed it too. You're no longer the man I married, she once whispered after an argument. You're chasing something that can't be caught. But Emeka brushed her off. He wanted more. More money, more cars, more status, and soon more women. It started with harmless flirting at events. Then it became secret phone calls and private lunches. The worst of them all was Adora, a 23-year-old political science student he met during a charity seminar. Adora was confident, smart, and stunning. Something about her reminded Emeka of someone, but he couldn't place it. She interned at one of his firms. Their first conversation was innocent. Sir, I admire your story, she said. You built everything from the ground up. That's inspiring. Emeka smiled. It came with sacrifices. You'll understand when you're older. I want to learn, she said boldly. That was the beginning. Soon they were exchanging late-night texts and private jokes. He took her shopping, bought her an iPhone, paid her rent. When she told him she had never been on a plane before, he arranged a business trip to Ghana, and she went with him. That weekend in Accra sealed everything. On the hotel balcony one evening, Adaora said, "This feels like a movie." Like, are you sure I'm not dreaming? Emeka chuckled, pulling her closer. With me, dreams come true. From then on, their affair became a well-kept secret. He traveled frequently under the pretense of expanding the business, but Isabella could feel the shift. The late calls, the mysterious debit alerts, the scent of unfamiliar perfume on his shirts. One night, as he showered, his phone vibrated on the bedside table. Last night was magical. I miss you already. Isabella's heart stopped. She picked up the phone. The chat thread confirmed her worst fears. Hotel bookings, receipts, love messages. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. The next morning, she hired a private investigator. Within 2 weeks, she had everything. Photos of Emeka and Adaora at luxury resorts, flight records, and CCTV stills from restaurants. That evening, when Emeka walked into the house, he met Isabella in the living room, a file on her lap. "Who is Adaora?" she asked. He froze. She's just a staff member." Isabella handed him the file. "Explain these, then." He flipped through the pages, his face growing paler with each image. "I can explain." "No need," she interrupted, standing up. "I loved you, Emeka. I believed in you. I supported you even when I found out about the sperm donation. But this is betrayal. Please, I'm done." She filed for divorce 2 weeks later. The news broke online and went viral. Billionaire's marriage crumbles in infidelity scandal. CEO caught cheating with staff member. But the worst was yet to come. As if fate had a cruel sense of irony, Adaora soon uncovered a truth that shattered her entire world. One rainy afternoon, while rummaging through old documents in her mother's room, she stumbled upon a sealed envelope from a fertility clinic, the one her mother had visited decades ago. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Curiosity pushed her to find out who her biological father truly was. She suspected he was someone she had never met, maybe a kind stranger or anonymous donor. But when the DNA report finally came in, Adaora nearly collapsed to the floor. Her heart stopped. Emeka, the man she had trusted, the man she had loved. Her hands shook uncontrollably as she dialed his number. When he answered, she couldn't find her voice. "Hello?" he said, confused. "Emeka?" Her voice cracked. "Tell me it's not true." "What are you talking about?" he asked cautiously. I did an investigation," she whispered, her throat tightening. You're my biological father." Silence. The phone slipped from Emeka's hand. His mind raced. His soul went numb. "No," he muttered. "That's not possible." But deep down he knew. He had made too many donations to fertility banks in his youth, thinking only of the money, never of the consequences. He felt a wave of shame and disgust rise within him. The guilt hit him like a truck. Emeka couldn't find the courage to face Adaora again. She was not just his lover. She was his own daughter. He locked himself inside his office for days, drowning in alcohol and agony. The empire he had built, the wealth he had amassed, it all meant nothing now. His life had become a nightmare. His reputation, his success, his image, gone. But Adaora, she was the greatest loss. Unable to bear the horrifying truth that she had unknowingly shared a bed with her father, Adaora took her own life. Before doing so, she shared a final post on her Facebook page. "My greatest mistake wasn't falling in love. It was trusting someone who was never meant to love me like that. Goodbye." Like wildfire, the post spread across the internet. The next morning, the news exploded. Young woman takes own life after DNA test reveals lover is her father. Emeka Obi's dark secret shocks nation. Fertility clinic mistake or billionaire cover-up? Social media erupted. News outlets dragged up Emeka's past, uncovering the long-forgotten sperm donation records that had been buried for years. It was no longer a private tragedy. It was a national disgrace. Emeka hadn't even processed Adaora's death before the phone rang again. It was the board of directors. "Emeka," the chairman said grimly, "we need to talk." At the company headquarters, Emeka walked into a full boardroom. The directors sat stiff and silent, their expressions cold. "This scandal is uncontainable," one director said. "Our investors are fleeing. Our stock has plummeted overnight." "I can fix this," Emeka said, desperate. "Give me time." "There's no fixing this," the chairman cut in. "You're toxic to this company. Effective immediately, you are being removed as CEO." "You can't do this," Emeka shouted. "I built this company from scratch." "And now you've destroyed it," the chairman replied. "Security will escort you out." As Emeka was led out of the building, the press ambushed him like vultures. "Mr. Obi, is it true you dated your daughter? Did you know she was yours before the DNA test? What do you have to say to the public about Adaora's death?" He pushed past them, but the damage was irreversible. His name was ruined. His legacy shattered. Emeka returned to his mansion, but it no longer felt like home. Adaora was gone. His wife had left him, his children wanted nothing to do with him, his company had disowned him. His name was a curse. He stopped eating, he stopped bathing, he drank until he couldn't feel anything anymore. The voices in his head wouldn't stop replaying her words. "I did a DNA test. You're my biological father. I trusted you. Goodbye." One night, Emeka sat in the darkness of his room, staring blankly at the ceiling. Was this what all the money had been for? The power? The success? To end up alone, hollow, and haunted? His best friend Tony had chosen a quiet life. He was happy. He had a wife and children. He had peace. But Emeka? He had lost everything that truly mattered: his family, his reputation, his daughter, and worst of all, his soul. When Tony heard about Emeka's downfall, he was stunned. Emeka did what? He whispered, gripping his phone tighter as he read the details of the scandal that had exploded across the nation. The headline alone made his stomach twist. He rushed to Emeka's mansion, praying it was an exaggeration, but the sight that met him broke his heart. His once proud friend, unshaven, reeking of whiskey, sprawled on the floor like a man who had already died inside. "Emeka, look at yourself," Tony said, his voice laced with disgust and pity. "Is this what all the money was for?" Emeka chuckled bitterly, eyes dull and lifeless. "I won, Tony. I got rich. I had power. And now—" He gestured weakly at the empty mansion around him. Tony clenched his fists. "I told you not to play with people's lives. I begged you for help when my child was sick. You laughed and told me to sell my sperm like you did. Do you remember that? Now look at you." Emeka let out a hollow laugh. "You're right. I should have listened. But it's too late now. It's all gone." Tony's voice cracked with restrained emotion. "You lost more than money, Emeka. You lost your soul chasing after it." Emeka didn't respond. He just stared blankly at the ceiling, tears silently rolling down his cheeks. Tony shook his head. "I pity you, but I can't save you from this. No one can." He turned to leave, his footsteps echoing in the lifeless mansion. For the first time, Emeka truly understood the weight of what he had lost. Not just the company, not just his name, but everything that ever made life worth living. As the door shut behind Tony, Emeka was left alone in the vast emptiness he had built for himself. And for the second time that week, he realized something. He had spent his whole life chasing money. And now, he had nothing to show for it. This is the end of this story. The moral lesson of this story is, when greed blinds the heart, even blessings become burdens. True success is not just about wealth, but about the character that sustains it. In the race for fortune, never trade integrity for temporary gain, or you may lose everything that truly matters. Thanks for watching. This story wasn't just about Emeka. It's a mirror for all of us chasing success at any cost. Do you think Emeka deserved what happened to him? Was Adaora's fate avoidable, or was she just another victim of a selfish system? Let's talk in the comments. What would you have done differently if you were Emeka, Adaora, or even Tony? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful African stories that speak truth. Hit the bell so you don't miss our next one, because next time, it might hit even closer to home. Until then, stay wise, stay grounded, and remember, not all money is worth the price.